So in this lesson, we're going to talk about nightmares. Now, I mean, all of us have had a nightmare at some stage. Sometimes when we begin to move into dream practice and lucid dream practice, we'll find we actually can sometimes have more nightmares or more experiences that we'd class as a nightmare. So this is something to be aware of. Now, it's an interesting one. Sometimes that's seen as because you are going more into the central channel of the body, that any previous things that are in there are kind of being exposed. So it's not like the nightmares are coming from somewhere, it's more that the conditions for those nightmares are there, and as the practice evolves, we start to kind of move through those blockages and they may come out in forms of what we'd call nightmares. So it's something to be aware of. I would say at this stage of the practice, it's probably a decision you need to make. So there will be a time where you have a nightmare which could probably be your worst nightmare occur in the dream. And it's basically because of where you're going into the central channel. And it's something you have to decide that you're up for or not up for. Now, I've experienced many nightmares, many experiences which we would call very powerfully, strong, scary experiences. Probably the best bit of advice I would give you is that your belief that something can harm you is the reason that it harms you. So once you really understand this, it's possible to go into experiences and see them in a different light. So we're reframing the idea of nightmare. So instead of thinking of nightmare, and it has a negative connotation, we think of it as more an experience that we can grow from, or an experience of moving through a blockage so that things can move better. So when I have that mentality, I'll engage a lot better with nightmares. I'd probably say too, the big one with nightmares is if you're having a reoccurring nightmare, look at what's going on in your life. So also too, sometimes nightmares reflect our lives, they reflect our anxieties. You can think of a nightmare as if you were a runner with a sore knee and you have inflammation, which is pain from your knee. And the nightmare could be seen as information from your subconscious. And then you maybe take painkillers or you keep running and ignore the knee, and the knee gets worse and the pain gets worse. And this is kind of what happens to us, is we have some, like communication from our subconscious, and then we ignore it or we suppress it and it doesn't go away. We think it does sometimes, but many times it doesn't. So if you have this mentality of opportunity towards nightmares, this can help you tremendously. Also working with techniques such as Tonglen, or giving and receiving. So basically it's like I have a nightmare I'm having, I sit down, I close my eyes, I imagine myself back in that nightmare, I feel that experience. And as I breathe in, I take in the negative energy of the nightmare into my body. It turns into white light, and as I breathe out, the white light goes towards the nightmarish figure or the nightmarish situation. I might work like this for 10 minutes. Very powerful practice if you do it before bed, especially if you would like to directly move into the nightmare. Even the intent of asking to meet the nightmare tonight and become lucid is actually a very powerful lucidity trigger. You're making a pretty bold statement to your subconscious that you're willing to see what your conscious calls unpalatable, and you're deciding that you want to welcome it in and come to understand it. So Tonglen, very powerful practice, imagining that situation, that negative energy, even breathing in its negative energy like a black smoke, and then breathing out a white light towards it. I kind of imagine I'm hugging it. This is quite a useful thing. Probably with working in a nightmare while it's occurring, my go-to is probably hugging. It's quite funny. Hugging has a pretty powerful thing about acceptance, about bringing in. So many times I've just hugged and the nightmarish figure has conjoined into me and turned to white light. You can work sometimes in a more sort of dualistic way. So maybe there's a nightmarish figure and you transform it into something beautiful, or you overpower it through your understanding that it's a dream and your technical capability. And these are all good techniques. You're transforming the negative to the positive. but you can go further and let go of negative and positive, and really just use compassion. So that would be my main piece of advice, is that compassion is the doorway through any nightmare. Last part about nightmares is sleep paralysis. So we may have experienced we've woken at night and we have not been able to move our body. Maybe we're hearing noises, we kind of feel like we're in a dream but we're awake. We're kind of, they're called the incubus, and the succubus was a common term in sort of the older days, where it was about the weight on your chest or the demon in the room. And it's really the brain trying to make sense of being stuck between dream and waking consciousness. Then we become fearful, that fear projects out, and we get hallucinatory images, auditory, visual on our waking environment. It's not dissimilar to actually what a schizophrenic has, but that's in an uncontrolled way when they're waking, basically during the day, whereas this is an experience at the night. If you want to come out of the sleep paralysis, the easiest way is to breathe out very slowly through your mouth, like a hissing sound, or just try and move a finger, and then that becomes 2 fingers, and that becomes a hand. You'll move some toes, and slowly the paralysis will fall out. If you're up for it, you can move into what's called a wake-induced lucid dream, where you enter the dream directly from the paralysis state. So it's similar to what we talked about, dream exit induced. It's the same technique. It's faster because you're essentially right on the cusp of entering. And we'll sort of talk a little bit about this as an entry technique as well. So this week, reframe nightmares. If you've got a nightmare that's coming up, work with it. Don't be afraid of it. Try and make friends with it. Try and reframe it. Even look at your life and try to understand what is going on and what could be blocking you. Namaste.